Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, welcome to the Curiosity Sideshow. In here we have Hoochie Coochie Girls from the vast Orient. We have the Snake Man, who was cursed by a voodoo queen in New Orleans. We have the bones of the Cardiff Giant. We've got our normal host, Eric. Well, Eric is running around someplace doing something, but we don't know. But for one thin dime, you can come in, you can see the Wolf Man, you can see the three-eyed Cyclops goat, you can go and find chickens that have 2 heads, calves that have 3 heads. You can see the paraphernalia from all of the most evil criminals of our time. So step right up, and come in and enjoy the mystery, the marvels, the effervescent, the iridescent sideshow of curiosity. Hey everybody, I'm Tim Shaw, and you're watching Curiosity. We're here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, at a place that is amazing. Anybody that watches this show has got to take a pilgrimage to the Gettysburg Dime Museum, and with us today is Mark Kosh. He's a fantastic guy. He's the proprietor, he's a collector, he's a former, well, let's put it this way, former state trooper who, and I love civil servants. Why? Because I just retired from being one. But this is a place of amazement. This is a place of beauty. This takes you back in time. So Mark, listen, first off, I'm gonna ask you a silly question. What's a respectable, nice guy like you doing, collecting all this strange memorabilia?
I've always enjoyed the strange and the unusual, and a few years ago, I decided, and when I say a few, about 20 years ago, I decided that,
it's relative.
that I wanted to take a sideshow out on the road when I retired, just a little museum show, and so I started collecting, and I put together a couple small shows. I did it in a trailer for a while, in a tent for a while, and decided, the beating that the equipment took, the beating that my
I can imagine.
took,
I seriously can imagine.
I decided I wanted to go brick and mortar somewhere, and things just kind of snowballed, and here we are. So
This is amazing. This is amazing. Why the time period? Why the Dime Museum? Because there's so many things out there. I mean, everybody out there knows that I'm a hoarder. I collect everything. But why the strange and unusual? It takes a certain type of person to really see beauty in what you collect. So why did you pick that?
I don't know. It's just always fascinated me. I mean, from the time I was a child, when we would go to the carnivals and the fairs, I couldn't walk past the sideshow. My mother would always drag me in. She couldn't walk past one either, even though we'd been in the same show. When the fairs came every year, the same shows came, and we went in them every year. Sometimes more than once in a day. So,
who would you say is probably your inspiration?
Inspiration.
I know it's a hard question because and we talked a little bit earlier. When I was a kid, I found a small image, a CDV image of Barnum, and when I started to look him up in the old, of course back then it was encyclopedias. You had to go and find a book with his name in it. I was just so totally amazed at what it was and what he represented and what he did.
Right. Just you can say that Barnum, doesn't have some kind of influence on this would be crazy. because we do have the display of the Last Supper over there, and I recently found out that Barnum also had a Last Supper.
Oh, really?
Display.
I did not know that.
We have the figure of Daniel Lambert out there, who's also on our sign and T-shirts and everything. And I found out that Barnum had a wax figure of Daniel Lambert. And, so,
and just for everybody who doesn't know who he is, he's the
Daniel Lambert is the London Fat Man, and he was popular back in the 1800s, of course. And and a lot of the figures that we have here, for instance, Jojo the dog-faced boy. These were freaks that worked for Barnum, and so to say Barnum didn't have an influence. And of course, we have a Fiji mermaid. Any oddities museum, worth.
Oh, exactly. You know what? I'm looking around here, and this room is just amazing. And I look around and tell us a little bit. Right behind us is the Edgar, the Alligator Man, and we'll have a close-up of him in a little bit. But tell us a little bit about this display. And now they're called what? Gaffs?
They're called gaffs, correct. And this particular gaff was made by a sideshow artist by the name of Mark Frierson. He's pretty well known among collectors and sideshow people, so I'm sure some of the viewers know who he is.
Yeah.
He also painted the banner back here. He's a great banner painter.
That is, that's in almost such a classic style. It's almost, it harkens back almost to like the early 50s, late 40s, especially the way, the face of the Alligator Man being so human with the smile yet, that's what I love about that.
So Mark Frierson made it. I had him make it for my show years ago. I had this guy on the road for a little while, and he's named Edgar after my father. So.
Now let me just ask you this: what did he think when you said you're going to name a gaff after him?
He just kind of laughed. Yeah, it was kind of a joke because him and I were always trying to figure out. We were always involved in some kind of money making scheme. I
love it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. It all comes down to the cash. It all comes down to the cash. Don't let anybody tell you any different.
And when I told him that, I was going to try this sideshow thing, I tried to get him involved in it, but he wasn't having any parts of it. So
I can understand. I can understand that.
As kind of a joke, I named the Alligator Man after him.
Now, as we look through all these collections, tell me about the shrunken head. Now that's an authentic piece. That's not something like a shrunken monkey head that's made to look at. That's an actual human skull.
That's a
shrunken head. Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's an actual shrunken head. Now it wouldn't have been a ceremonial head. It wouldn't have been one of the Sansas. It was. It's probably a tourist head. But
yes.
It's about 120 years old.
That's amazing. That's just so amazing. Behind the camera, and we'll show this too, two-headed calf. Now, logically, I would have to say, where the hell did you get that? But I'm kind of afraid to ask, but where did you get that?
That, I bought that on eBay, believe it or not. It was...
You can buy anything on eBay. Anything on eBay.
And in fact, I have a good story about buying anything on eBay.
Oh, I got to hear it. I got to hear it.
Are you familiar with Matt Lake?
Yes.
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 Okay. Matt Lake came in here one day, and I'd never met him before.
Really? I hope you got his autograph.
Oh, we have autographed copies of Weird Pennsylvania for sale here.
Fantastic, fantastic.
But and since he came in the first day, he's been back a couple other times. He did a book signing
awesome.
Here with Susan Fair last
year.
So
fantastic.
And,
so fantastic.
He's supposed to be back again this year sometime for a book signing. So if you watch our Facebook page,
people watch Facebook. I don't care if I keep calling it the devil. Watch Facebook, because Facebook is like what everybody's using so that we can actually stay in touch with everybody and what's going on. And keep your fingers on the pulse beat of all the strange and unusual.
But to finish the story, I'll try and make it quick here.
Oh, you don't have to make it quick. Everybody out there right now, they love understanding the whys and hows, and a true storyteller takes his time and gets the details right.
So Matt came in here shortly after we first opened, and he did his walk through the museum, and he came out, and I was sitting out at the counter, and he said, "Where did you get that squirrel back there in the case? That balled up squirrel?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "I bought that on eBay, I think about 20 years ago." And he said, "I sold that to you."
Are you kidding?
He sold it to me. I guess he was having some work done in his house, and the workers had opened up a wall and found this squirrel in it. So he had it there at his house for a while, and he actually had it under in a cake plate, with the glass lid.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess his wife at the time wanted him to get rid of it. So he sold it on eBay, and he was writing an article for a magazine on how you can sell anything on eBay.
Oh my God.
And unfortunately, the magazine went belly up before the article was published, but
so he
was reunited with Penny the Pennsylvania mummified squirrel there.
That's great. What's your favorite? And I know it's almost as if it's so hard to like ask you what's your favorite piece in this museum, because it's like asking a father who's their favorite child. So, but I'm going to do it because why? I'm curious. I have to. What's your favorite piece in the whole museum? And it's hard.
That is a tough question.
That would be like trying to ask me what my favorite piece is, because I can't. I love everything about it.
Geez, I don't know what my favorite piece would be. I mean, there are a lot of pieces that I love here for different reasons, and to single one out would be tough. But I could give you a few.
Sure, yeah.
I have the corn cob hand over there in the case, which is a corn cob that grew into the shape of a human
Right,
hand,
yeah.
and it's really nice. And it was from the 1800s, so it's kind of the time period. I have that brick bust there that I did a little bit of research on, and I can tell you about that. And I also have the shrunken head. I'm very, because a lot of museums have the fake shrunken heads.
Mm-hmm.
So I like, that we have a real one. I have a two-headed shark. We talked about the two-headed calf. And
Right.
most of these museums have two-headed calves, but we have a legit two-headed shark. And
This is amazing. This is amazing. Tell me a little bit about the Last Supper. I got to tell everybody. He's showing me around the museum. Mark's walking me through everything, and I'm like a little. I'm as you can tell, I'm stuttering because I am like a little kid in a candy store. I love this so much, and I walk into the room, and there's a lifelike Last Supper, a wax Last Supper, and it took me back because when I was a kid, when I used to go to Clifton Hill, they used to have in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, we would go up there and they would have all the dime museums. They had the Houdini Museum, and they had Ripley's is still up there, and they had a kind of a cheesy wax museum. But I always remember walking in, and one of the last things that I remember as you walked out the door before they got you in the gift shop, of course, they put you right into the gift shop, they had the Last Supper. And I think it was like to guilt people to buy something. Where did you get that? That's an amazing, and it's actually very, very nice. And it's everything looks very clean, everything looks very fresh on it, which is unusual because most of the time people leave things and like let everything like just be in shreds and really dirty.
Right. The Last Supper, it was made by a company in Baltimore that's still in business called Dorfman Museum Figures. Mm-hmm. And these figures were made quite a while ago, and they were on display for a long time at a wax museum in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And then when they were auctioned off from there, they made their way up to the American Dime Museum, which was in Baltimore, founded by Dick Horn and James Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been out of business for about 10 years now, but they were only there for a brief period, and then they went to a private collector. Well, when this private collector was ready to sell them, I was able to get them at a good price, and they were in some rough shape because they were as old as they were, and nobody had ever done anything to them, and I had them in storage for a good 10 years before we pulled them out, and so they were pretty bad. And then my wife, she took and re-dyed all the clothes, replaced some of the stuff that needed replaced, and washed all their hair, cleaned them all, redid all their eyelashes.
It looks wonderful. It looks good.
She did a really good job with it.
Now, he's got a little. When you come here and you're walking around, you have to keep your eyes open because there's like little nooks and crannies, little tiny rooms here and there, and you don't want to miss anything. If you go and kind of cross, and it's kind of ironic because it's across from the Last Supper. It's like American crime. What do you have in there? Because I walked in there and I'm going, okay, I know this, and I turned to my left and there was a life-size figure of John Wayne Gacy as Pogo the Clown, and I went, oh well, yeah, I'm in the right place. I'm in the right place. Tell me about that room.
That room, I wanted a Pogo painting for the museum.
Right.
And so I found one on one of the websites that deals in crime and serial killer memorabilia.
Listen, not that. I want you guys to go out and start looking for this stuff. I do, and if you don't want it, send it to me. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
And so I bought one for the museum, and I told Dick Horn about it, who was one of the founders of the American Dime Museum, and he said, "Oh, I know a guy who can get you a lot of that stuff." Well, so he hooked me up with this retired Baltimore City police officer. And
first thing you got to know. Cops have connections with cops, and cops know where all this stuff is. I'm not going to lie. I don't know one cop that doesn't have a connection into, I know where you can buy this.
So, he started getting all this stuff for me, and I mean, it was at great prices, and I couldn't pass it up. So I started, I have Gacy's Typerwriter and Walkman radio in there. I have Gacy's paintbrushes, and I even have stuff that's not on display, but I have letters and Charles Manson's hair, other artwork by Gacy and Ramirez and Nico Clow.
I have a friend. His name is Scott Michaels out in L.A. And he owns Dearly Departed Tours, and he just bought the Jane Mansfield death car. He's got it on display, and he's an avid collector. Hoarder. We call them hoarders, but collector is a polite name. I'm a hoarder. He's got bricks from the CeeLo Drive murder scene where Sharon Tate was killed, and he's an expert on Manson, but he does not have a lock of his hair. How would you have gone about getting a lock of Manson's hair?
That was just one of those things that I was offered when I started dealing with that guy down in Baltimore. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now I'm looking across and I see a bone that's in a knot. Tell me about that.
That is another Mark Frierson gaff.
Oh, it's a gaff. Thank God, because I'm looking at that and it really does, Mark. That really looks real.
Yeah. Frierson, he does quality work, and that's why I deal with him a lot. But the bone there is the bone of the contortionist there in the picture, and after his death, to show why he was so flexible, they tied one of his bones in a knot. Apparently his bones were...
You know what? Wonderment. And I think in this day and age we've lost that awe, that wonderment, because everything is, we have the internet, which isn't bad, but on the other hand, it really exposes a lot of stuff. It takes the mystery out of so much stuff. Let's go back to the 1800s. What would it have been like for somebody to walk into a dime store? I keep saying dime store because I'm of that era. When I grew up, it was the 5 and dime. A dime museum. What was it like when, let's say it's your first trip to the big city, or a little city, and you walk into this place. What would have been the overall impression of what it was like?
I mean, like you, I can only imagine what it would have been like. But I mean, it would have been amazing. I mean, it would have been like being a kid. Like being a kid again. I don't know.
And again, I mean, I'm a collector, and these things are all unusual, and I love them. For the paranormal people, and I was at the Paracon this weekend and spoke about Ouija boards, by the way, just to let you know, because people are like this about Ouija boards.
I'm one of them.
Well, listen, if you ever want a good one, an old one, please let me know, and I will send you a vintage one, okay, from the 1940s. I would donate it in a heartbeat. For the paranormal people out there, you ever have anything strange that happened? Now, this museum is situated, and it's housed in an older building. Tell me about the building that we're standing in, and if you ever had a little shadow or something kind of looking around the corner at you, or you had that feeling.
Well, the building, actually this side of the building that we're standing in isn't that old. This was built in the 1980s. The building that was here burned down. Now on the other side, that is a Civil War building.
Right.
That was built, I want to say...
Where the entrance is, right? Correct.
The entrance is. And that was built around 1802, I want to say. I might be, off a year or two there.
So it actually witnessed the battle.
It did witness the battle. Now, it didn't look like it does now.
Of course not, right?
They've got the Victorian facade there in the 1890s, but yeah, that is old over there. And as far as in the museum goes, now we have had some people come in here and do some ghost investigations. And stuff.
Really?
Now the first group we had in here.
I won't say anything, but I do have a kit in the car just in case.
The first group we got in here was really amateurish and
right.
And well, I won't even go into.
No, don't go into it. Don't go.
But
no names, no names.
We're not going to give any names. But then we did have another group come in here, and they did it. It did a little bit of an investigation, and they also were evaluating some people for a television show that they're going to do for Amazon Prime, and one of the
I know who you're talking about. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think since we're all ex-cops, but so they were in there shooting the show or shooting just some footage, just trying to evaluate this girl, and they were in the crime room there, and something grabbed her arm.
Oh, really?
That's down, and then we've had some other people come in who are sensitive, I guess, and one. In fact, it was shortly after that happened that a woman came in here, and she walked around the corner there and started to get really nauseous, and
yeah, I can understand.
Didn't
that.
realize that it was.
I can understand
coming
that.
From the
I can understand
crime room
that.
there, but
because what's amazing? I look around, and you have a lot of original stuff, and you have gaffs, which are modern reproductions and modern creations. But in that room, you walk in there, and again, it's tight, it's small, and it's jammed with stuff. I can understand that. I can understand why. Of course, me being me. Well, everything's vibrational in nature, and blah 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 blah. And I walked in there, and it's like the hair on my arms kind of stood up a little bit, and I thought to myself, well, it's probably because psychological. I kind of walked in there, and it's like, oh, Pogo is standing there. Oh, look at this, look. And so a lot of times I think it's psychological, but a lot of times it's not. So that's wonderful. Now, let me ask you, and I'm looking at it right now.
mm-hmm.
I got offered to buy one, and I didn't, and I wish I had. The dead cat, the dried cat. He's got the corpse of a dried cat, and it's all dried out and it's weathered, but it's complete, and the face on it is really unique. And again, we'll do a shot of it. Tell me about that. That always intrigues me.
Yeah, these dried animals. We have a few in there, like the squirrel that I bought from Matt, the cat, a couple of rats. If I see them somewhere, and actually in the front room there by the fireplace between the Elephant Man and Daniel Lambert, we have a dog laying there on the hearth.
Oh, we have to look at that.
Bones, but
oh. Excuse me, if I wish we had a snare drum, bum on that one.
So, yeah, no, they're just bizarre, and they creep people out, and so we try and have a mixture in here of funny, creepy, interesting. We just kind of.
The original the dime museums, were they? And a lot of people, of course, everybody gets the horror story, the horror movies in their head, and always, the people are creeping in there, and it's always like Creature in the Wax Museum, and people walk in and they're shocked. And if anybody ever saw like this season or last season on Penny Dreadful, when they actually had this wax museum, people were just like really, really creeped out on the show. The original ones, they weren't made, like you said, they weren't really created to scare people. They were there to go and make people kind of jump, and yet, oh, really? And then they would take you in, and it was almost as if it was a sensory tour, and show you things that were from places that you may have only read about.
Right.
It's like the Ouija boards. And I talked about it this weekend, so now it's fresh in my brain, because I have ones from the 40s and the 30s, and the earliest ones are very plain. But during that time period, people looked at it, and they're like the Far East. You have the Raj boards, the guy with the turban, and you have the cobras, and the motifs, and you have the Far Egyptian, with pyramids on it. But it was also to educate people, wasn't it? I mean, people would come in and be shocked, but yet it was a chance for them to see a place that they would never see in their lives, or may have only seen drawings of.
Right, and we talked a little bit about Barnum's museum. Well, Barnum had a large taxidermy collection and a zoo there, and back then you didn't have movies, you didn't have television, you didn't have the internet. So the only time you ever saw a penguin in your life might have been a stuffed one at Barnum's museum,
right?
Or something like
Right.
So
amazing. Well, you know what? He's going to take me on a little tour, and I can't wait because this place is magical. Magical. Gettysburg Dime Museum. We're going to go and he's going to show me a couple things. He's going to highlight a couple things so everybody can enjoy it. Because you know what? I may be just giving you a little taste, but please support places like this because it's not only true history, but it's the love and passion that people like Mark can share. So follow along, and we're gonna take me on a. You're gonna take me on a magic mystery tour.
Let's do it.
Okay. We'll do a real quick setup, and we're following you through.
All right. Okay. Down here in the case, we have a three-legged chicken. Now, this isn't a gaff. This was a genuine three-legged chicken. I had him when he was alive, actually. He was a pet, and I took him on the road with some of the shows. Funny story with him is I was doing the Schuylkill County Fair, and it was within driving distance of my house, so I was driving back and forth every day, and of course I would bring him home at night. Well, towards the end of the week, I guess he was getting tired of it, and I reached in there to get him, and he jumped up and he spurred me pretty good and cut my hand open.
Ooh.
So, after all was said and done, we got him in, loaded up, got him down there. Well, the next day I went in to get him out, and I'm looking at him, and he was just like rubbing his leg on the wood, and I realized what he was doing was he was sharpening his spur. And I said, "Oh, no, you're not going to get me another day." But yeah, so he was mean. My wife was deathly afraid of him, and but he really wasn't that bad. And it's kind of sad when he died, but but he is here, immortalized in the Dime Museum. Okay, and this is Der Wolpertinger. It is a German, a legendary creature from Germany, and it is. It's similar to the jackalope. I guess it's a German's version of the jackalope. But apparently the best way to catch these is for a beautiful woman to go out into the forest at night, and when the moon is full, find a secluded nook where the Wolpertinger is likely to be, and once he reveals itself, she should expose her breasts, and that causes the Wolpertinger to fall into a stupor.
I don't want to say anything, but at some of the places that I've been in, people fall in the stupor over that.
Okay, and this guy over here in the corner, that's an old sideshow gaff, known by a few different names: Woolly Booger, Asquatch. Basically, what it is it's the rear end of a white-tailed deer turned upside down and taxidermied, and the face put in there, and the deer's tail is actually the beard. So that's kind of an interesting piece. It's a classic.
Classics. You know what, Mark? I've seen a lot of things I've never seen, like a Sasquatch head made out of the rear end of a deer. That's amazing to me. Now the skull, it almost looks like an alien skull. What is that?
That is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mary Reeser, who died of spontaneous human combustion. That is only a few things survived. Obviously her foot, but her skull was one of the things that survived, and that's another gaff. And that is Mary Reeser's skull and a jar of her ashes.
You have everything here. You have everything here.
is our wedding dress here, haunted wedding dress, from a woman who, believing herself to be jilted at the altar, ran out of the church and threw herself in front of the first car that came by. And ironically enough, her husband was a passenger in the car, his own car having broken down on the way to the church. But then her parents lovingly preserved this dress, and every now and then, to make her presence known, you'll smell flowers when you're in the room here with her. Okay, and here we have Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man. Most people are familiar with him from the David Lynch movie, and his story was kind of a sad one. Sad in the fact that he wasn't actually born like this. It wasn't until he was, I believe, 5 years old that he started developing raised bumps on his skin, and then this is pretty much what he morphed into before he died. The David Lynch movie, made it seem, like he was forced into the show business and everything, but he didn't really have a choice, and he kind of did that, voluntarily. So that was a little bit sensationalized, and I guess to tug at your heartstrings a little bit. But the case was sad enough. But so that's our Elephant Man.
Mark, I got to thank you. This is totally fascinating. It is, for me, I can close my eyes and I can be transported back to the 1800s by coming in here. This is a place that really captured my imagination. This is a place that I am inspired. I am so inspired by coming in here, because you want to know what I really want to make? I want to make a gaff. That's my, before I die, I'm going to make a gaff. I'm going to do it. And I come in here and I look at this, and a lot of people will look at these objects and say, oh my God, they're horrible. But I look at them as something that's so creative that somebody took. Could be a pile of bones, could be like, old pieces of leather. And they've created this, they formed this. So to me, this is beautiful. Now, Mark, I want you to go tell everybody all about how they can contact you, where they can find out more information about this, and I'm going to come right out and say, if you guys have something unusual where you want to do a book signing, you want to do a little tiny special event, this is the place to come. I swear to God, this is the place to come, and I wouldn't steer you wrong, because I love this. So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
If you want to get a hold of me, the best way to get a hold of us is through our Facebook page, which is Facebook.com.
It's otherwise what we refer to as, again, the devil. But let's talk among friends.
It's Facebook.com/Gettysburg Dime Museum, all one word, or www.GettysburgDimeMuseum.com. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of us. And we're located here at 224 Baltimore Street in Gettysburg, so just a couple blocks south of the square. Come down and see us.
I'm telling you, really, seriously, those of you who are students of the sideshow, those of you who are students and collectors of the macabre, those of you who, even like myself, who have haunted objects and crazy Ouija boards, and I whenever I do an investigation of a real haunted area, I go look in their garbage cans, because if I find a little piece of broken tile from a floor, I'll take it, because of the fact that it is part of it, and I want to go and preserve a little something, So please stop at the Gettysburg Dime Museum. It is a treat. It is a sensory overload of those of you like myself who, we had a taste of the carny life. We had a taste of what it is. We have a respect for history. And, you come to Gettysburg and it's magical. It's truly magical. So this is Tim Shaw here at the Gettysburg Dime Museum. And I want to thank everybody out there for watching. And Mark, it's a true privilege to meet you. Privilege. We're gonna, what? I have this crazy feeling that you and I are going to be connected somewhere along the line. I have a Bigfoot cast. I'm going to send them as a thank you. I want a piece of me in this museum. I don't want my foot or anything in the museum, but a little bit of my collection. Thank you, Mark, very
Thank
much.
you, Tim.
You know what? Have a
Appreciate
great day and have a great Sunday, and let's have success. Let's do this. Let's have a lot of success, and I really hope that this is something that will be here for years to come. So thank you very much. Thank you guys again for watching Curiosity. There's a sucker born every minute. I love it. Hello. I hope you enjoyed our current episode of Curiosity. I loved it. I have to tell you, I have got to have been a sideshow barker back in my younger days, or perhaps even another life. But may I say thank you for visiting, thank you for coming in, and what else? Ladies and gentlemen, the end is not the end, for we have even more, so watch out for the next episode. Ha!